Hey guys, Jeff here again. I want to talk about buffs today, right? I want to talk about the difference between flat and percentage buffs, the definitions of the two, and how they impact this game, right? To be clear, this is a going to be a very basic explanation. If you already know what these things are and how they're applied and how to use them, you're probably not going to gain any new information from me, right? I just wrapped my head around them literally a day ago, right? I knew what they were. I understood them. I didn't understand the mechanic of them and how to track and note the changes. So now that I'm comfortable with my understanding of it, and I've been seeing a lot of people asking these questions, uh, so I'm going to put this out here, and hopefully it gives you the information that you're looking for that's going to help you out, right? So let's just jump right in, right? So what is a flat and what is a percentage buff, right? Bottom line, a flat is a finite number, uh, 10, 100, 1000, right? Those are known numbers. We know that 150 is always 150 regardless, right? It stands for a specific measured amount uh, that is constant and unchanging, right? A percentage is a number that is applied to an existing number, right? So 20% of 100 is 20, right? That 20% can be applied to any finite number and the end result is going to change, right? So 20% of 100 is 20, 20% of 1,000 is 200, right? The 20% never changed, the base number did, right? So that's the difference between a flat and a percentage. It is a known number or a, let's call it a enhancing number, right? So 20% by itself sitting in a vacuum is nothing. It is just a concept. 100 sitting by itself is a defined quantity, right? So that's in my words how to describe the two things. It's a lot easier to show it to you, right? So I'm gonna go right down here. I'm gonna work with arches because most people, when they're applying buffs and debuffs, they're most concerned with archers. That's usually everyone's first PvP march is their archer march. So uh, let's go all the way down here to a T1 range troop, and we're gonna notice here when we click it. I keep forgetting that I have a touchscreen monitor, so I keep forgetting you guys can't see where my fingers are going a lot of times, so I'll try to use my mouse whenever I can. Up here in the info icon, when we click on that, uh, we got all these little numbers down here, and they indicate different attributes of this level 1 range troop. Here's his attack number, defense number, hit points, so on and so forth, right? You'll notice some of these numbers are white, some of them are green. If they are green, they are being influenced by some other factor within the game. It is not that troop's base number, right? So it is the base number plus a number that's coming from other sources, right? So if you notice my range, you know how far my archers shoot, uh, and how fast they move. That's not affected by any other element in the game at this point, right? Uh, these are static numbers, right? So unless I specifically change something else, this is the attack number for this troop. Uh, Nothing the opponent uh, doing to me can change that number, right? It is a flat number. If that opponent has a minus 2,000% uh, debuff, it cannot affect that number, right? You cannot debuff a flat number. Now, Ebony doesn't have it right now, and I hesitate to say it because they might bring it out someday where they have debuffs that debuff flats, right? And it could be a minus 2,000, not minus 2,000%, but minus 2,000 debuff. And in my opinion, if that were to ever happen, a minus 2,000 flat number debuff would just automatically vaporize troops before they even got hit by you by the power of the debuff alone. Uh, kind of like the spiritual pressure in Bleach. It's just overwhelming and campy. Anyway, that's not even reality right now. Let's look at these numbers, right? So I got this guy here. He's being buffed by other things, and I'll show you some things that buff this number. I believe the base number for a fresh out of the box, right off the shelf game with nothing added to it is 220, right? That is the base number, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Deal with it. It's close, right? 220, and so that means that I'm getting an additional 314 units. I'll just call them added to that base number, right? Uh, he's being buffed by something, and the first place that I look for these numbers is down here in your monarch's detail. You can scroll down, and this has every statistic about all of the things you've done, all of the things within your purview as a mighty monarch. These are the numbers that make your whole system run. So if we look at some of these numbers down here, I'm looking for single range troop attack, right? Plus 150. Well, there's where some of that green number, that 300, whatever it was, is coming from this number right here. So this is saying that a single range troop, doesn't matter if it's a T1, T14, whatever, is getting 150 units added to its attack. Uh, that's your flat addition. That 150 is going to be consequential to a T1 that, like I said, out of the box only has 220, right? Uh, 150 on a T14, on the other hand, well, if you're adding 150 to 12,000, okay, cool, thanks, I'll take it, but I'd rather have 20% of 12,000, right? Uh, would be like 2,400. So 20% of 1,200, 2,400, that's consequential, right? Uh, 20% of this guy is going to be what? 10, right? Is that right? 10% would be, no, it'd be 100, right? So, yeah, you know, eh, yeah, tell him, cat. So, what you want to do, and what you want to consider is why does it matter uh, if I have a flat buff or percentage buff, and at what point does one help or not help the other, right? And just right to the point, T11. Anything T11 below, uh, your flats are going to have a meaningful impact on this base number, right? Anything above, then the flats, they lose their luster. The numbers still apply, they just don't mean as much. So if I'm going to hit your T14 with my T14, uh, I want to have a bigger number there, right? And if you are just using flats on your T14 and I am using a percentage buff, I'm going to smoke you, right? Now, the opposite holds true. if I'm attacking your T1 with my T14, uh, which it wouldn't be a one-on-one fight because in a defensive situation, I'm going to have 10 million T1s, right? And you can bring 2 million T14s, right? That's a lot of power. That's 2 million T14s is going to knock someone hard. But if I've got 10 million T1s that have the strength of a T11, probably going to win, right? There's other factors involved, but just simple numbers and numbers, apples and oranges. Uh, the benefit is on the guy with more smaller troops that act like they're a little bit bigger, right? It's the easiest way I can explain that. So that's that concept right there, right? Uh, let's work on changing this number, right? Uh, Let me go back to my detail just to confirm this cat's gonna bite me, and I'm gonna yell at him, and everyone's gonna think I beat my cat. I don't beat my cat. I love my cat, but he does bite me a lot. So a single range troop attack of 150. I'm going to change that number right now by going up to my Monarch gear, and I'm going to select my wind staff here. This is going to give me a ranged troop attack of 41% and a ranged troop attack of 105. Right? So it's actually giving me both, which is awesome because that means both subcategories of my troops are going to get a beneficial impact from this. My higher tier troops are definitely going to benefit from that 41%, as well as my lower tier troops are going to benefit from that 105. Uh, so the way this gets added on to that green number on our troop that we see it in our military buildings, the 41% is going to get added to that number, our single range troop attack, right? We're going to add that 41% to the 150 or whatever it was, right? Which ends up being 61, right? Then we're going to add that 105 on top of that, right? So let's see what that looks like now when I go to my single range troop attack. Now it's 255, right? So we've added the 41%, we've added the 110, whatever, and now I'm gonna go back, look at my troops, and this guy is now 692 units of attack, right? So you can see how if I keep adding little buffs here and there, that number is going to get up to a point where, all right, so let's see what a troop would be at 692 without that gear that I just put on, right? So I'll just put this one on for now. Go back, look. Okay, we're maybe a 3. Oh, he's all the way up to 850. So 681, right? Uh, so that one piece of gear basically turns all of my T1 range troops into T2s. What was T2s? Uh, Come here, dude. So uh, the more of those flats that you can stack up, the higher up this. Ow, fucker! You're adopted. Yeah, suck on that. Sorry, you guys had to see that. So the higher you stack, the more flat numbers that you can add through these different places. The higher up this scale that T1 becomes until we've gave them 2,500, right? Uh, so how do we do that, right? How do we get that? Research. Research is going to be the first thing that you should have. And I'm going to go here to military, the first one, right? Uh, Look at this, right? Increase single range troop attack, right? Plus 150. No percentage, plus 150. So if you notice that without that crown on, my single range troop attack number was 150, right? Get over it. Uh, and there's also military advance, right? That has, what is it, like, I have to find the actual, okay. Now, in the advanced military, increases single range troop attack uh, all the way maxed out 40%. Now, we are looking at a percentage buff uh, that, dude, me and you are going to fight. Seriously. He's got claws and teeth, and he's going out the door. All right. Struggle is real with that one. So this advanced military gives us a 40% buff, right? So now my higher level tier troops, uh, which is, about the time that you get to this point in doing your research, you should be making these higher troops that are going to benefit from a percentage buff, right? You'll also have this Council of State, which I've, really just kind of started messing with, but you'll see here, uh, depending on the general that you put in there, they start adding these buffs to it, right? Uh, and depending on how starred out your general is, a fully ascended 10-star general is going to get ground troop attack plus 10%, right? Uh, so that's one place of many that you can find buffs. The champion, I think maybe Helen, if we look, I'm going to show you on her champion skill. Uh, she just has percentage buffs, right? So you see an in-city troop attack of plus 40%, right? Uh, all these numbers coming from all these different places are adding up to make those green numbers for us. Civilization treasure kind of has the same thing, right? So if you look here, you can see uh, just by owning this thing, this Tutankhamun's dagger, I've got a debuff on my enemy range troop attacks, right? I've got buffs to my attacks on monsters. And if I actually activate it, like this one is activated now, I gain a buff to march speed on monsters, right? All of these things have different little things that add up to make those buffs, right? Let's not forget, we also have the art treasure, right? So, oh, cool, I got stuff to upgrade. Uh, we look at Mona Lisa here. She's giving us resource production buffs. Uh, what's this guy? He's giving me attacking buffs, right? So if I hit this, I'll be able to bump him up to level 3. And now I have, so I just added uh, more buffs to my attacking troops, right? And you see their percentage buffs. Now we know those percentage buffs are really going to help my top tier troops uh, a lot more. Man, I got two of them. This one looks like it's going to buff my training and march speed to monsters. That's always good to have. Cool, cool. Right. So you can see all these different places that all these buffs come from to add up to that number. So it's real easy to build those numbers up to really start getting these troops to where this lowly T1 will start acting like a grown ass man, right? Uh, let's dip off into gear real quick on your generals, just so I can just show you how uh, that works as well. There's Hestia. So all of your gear on your general can be refined, right? I don't want to get too far into the weeds of refining, but uh, just know that every piece of equipment can get additional attributes added to it when you refine it, right? So when you click refine, you'll see what attributes are added. So these do not come with this weapon default out of the box. These are all added on to this weapon, and you'll see what I've started to do is mounted troop attack because she's my monster hunter, right? So ideally, uh, you'll see that this mounted troop attack buff can be anywhere from 1% to 25%. Now, this is a piece of Ares gear, so it's quite a bit higher than if it was just like a King's gear. You know, the range above the top end is going to come down. So instead of 25%, it may be 20% or whatever. You can tell what numbers you are dealing with by looking over here. Uh, the flat, there's a mounted troop attack flat number. This really has no impact on my troops that this spear is being used with. It's just I haven't refined it out yet, but it is good to look at and see this flat number and the range that your refine will go to on that. So this can go up to 1096, right? So let's assume this was my range or my wall general, right? And I wanted to make all my mounted troops super strong. I would give my wall general a piece of equipment and try to refine it so that every single one of them had as close to this number as I could get, right? So if I had all four at 1,000, that's 4,000 units being added to my little bitty troop. So if you can imagine, we go back to our little fellas here and add 4,000 to that number. Now we're looking at 4,500, right? When you're looking at 4,500, you're starting to get up to T9, T10 level, right? Uh, yeah, so T9, T10 level with just that piece of gear and all my other little refines right there and the research and everything else. I've taken that T1 and I've made them a T9, right? T9 plus. And inversely, if I had a piece of equipment and I refined it with percentages, 25% in each one, 25, 50, 75, 100%, right? So if I had 100% of 534, I've I've doubled him to 1,000, whatever, right? Uh, Probably got him up to a 4. So 100% of my T1's attack power added on basically makes him a T4. However, my T14, 100% attack is going to jump that to 24,000, right? So quite consequential. So hopefully you can see where flats are perfect up to a point, and there's that T11 range where all right, flats no longer really matter. It's percentages. Uh, so that's it, man. That's flats and percentages, and there's a million other little things that can go into this and tweak and refine. I've got envelopes with numbers all over the place, scratching furiously like a madman trying to figure this stuff out. I hope that answers some questions. I hope it didn't create more confusion. Uh, and I hope you keep watching, keep liking, keep subscribing, keep buying my merch, right? Uh, and if there's anything you want to know, hit me up. You know where I'm at. Later.